This diagram represents the ActiveText architecture which underlies the It's Alive environment. At the root of this diagram, and the primary element in our architecture, is the book object. The book object functions both as encapsulation for text and as an engine for behaviors. Consequently, there's a single text object underneath the book, and there's a list of behavior objects. We'll discuss the behaviors in further detail later. The text object is composed of one or more passage objects. Each of these passage objects is composed of one or more word objects, which are themselves composed of one or more glyph objects. So let's look at an example of text being dynamically parsed by the environment. This is a passage of text that I've just entered in. This passage, as you can see, is a single unit, and it's composed of individual word objects. I can reposition the word passage, and even though I've manipulated that word, it still maintains its sense of identity. It's still part of the passage. Similarly, each word is composed of individual glyph objects, and no amount of manipulation of these glyphs will cause that letter to cease to remember that it's part of a word. And similarly, that word is still part of the passage upon which it was originally part of. So what we gain from having this hierarchy is the ability to apply behaviors at different levels. We could take a behavior and, for example, apply it at the glyph level. Let's apply the wave behavior. This causes the individual glyphs of the word this to move. Even as they move about, these letters are actually moving relative to their word object and still maintain their sense of identity. We could now apply a behavior specifically at the word level, for example, cruise. And that behavior now filters down the hierarchy. The glyphs still move relative to the word, but now the word is cruising around the screen. Similarly, we can select the entire passage and apply an interactive behavior to that, like move the mouse. Now the entire passage is attempting to adjust in response to my mouse movements, even while the word cruises around the screen and the individual glyphs perform this wave-like motion. So let's deselect that, and let's hide the indicators of the hierarchy so you can just see the text moving around. Now, to this point, all of these behaviors have actually been maintaining the form of the letter. However, we also have the ability to create behaviors that operate upon the letter form. For that, we go to the soft type fonts. This would be an example of a soft type font, in this case, the pulsing font. Now the letter forms themselves are responding to both time and user interaction. Another example of a soft type font is the pull. Let me just correct that for accuracy. And this also demonstrates a distortion of letter form and position in response to mouse movement. And much like words and glyphs maintain their sense of identity and their relative positioning values, no amount of distortion here will cause these letter forms to forget their original position and shape.